Hey, what's up guys? So since last time I have made a couple different things. One of the first things I did was I made a oven, which is essentially just like a furnace that you can power from GregTech 6 heat producing things. So I'm going to be running it with the solid Invar burning box here. I have it set up just to suck out the ashes here into this little barrel, and I'm going to eventually just pipe in like charcoal pellets probably. Just to be efficient with it. There's really no risk with this machine. It doesn't have any potential of like overheating or anything, so it's more just like an efficiency fuel thing. Something else that I did was I made a saw, which is over here, and I've hooked it up with some steel pipes. I know it doesn't look very good. I had it set up temporarily so that I could kind of get some wood because I was running low, and I just, wanted to get a little bit more efficient with my output from that. And I used that wood to create that barrel there, and I think I also made this barrel here for charcoal, and I think I made that one as well. What else did I do since last time? Oh, I made myself a set of steel armor, and I also made myself some long fall boots, just because, I wanted armor. I didn't want to die anymore, and I didn't want to take fall damage anymore, so I had the diamonds actually, and what I did with those, I think I also made a backpack. Not that kind of backpack, this kind of backpack, the one from Better Storage. So if I shift right click, there we go. So you can see I just filled it up with some stuff. I made some scissors just for shearing sheep. And I also used that to make a sleeping bag. I made a butchery knife. I made a steel one, and I made a solarium one. A tip that I have for people is that solarium, or anything that would give you like fortune 2, if you use that to make a butchery knife, for example, because a butchery knife automatically gives you looting 2, it will bump your looting 2 up to looting 3, sort of like if you had enchanted a looting 2 tool with a looting 2 book, it upgrades it to the next level. So you could do the same thing with Ephraim. I don't think it works the same if you do like a looting 1. I think it just overrides that looting 1 with looting 2. But even if you just made it out of steel, you'd get free looting 2. Which is still really, really nice. These don't have as much durability as like my steel swords that I made, but you get looting too, so it's definitely a benefit. So I use this butchery knife to kill some cows out in the wild that I bred before I killed them, just so I could preserve them for later. And that's what the steel one is for. And the solarium one I use to get 2 wither skeleton skulls. I just didn't really feel like going and farming the skulls anymore, so I just didn't get the third one. Maybe I'll do that in a little while. I'm not really sure. It's sort of, I just walked around the fortress and was just killing them as I found them. But in the fortress, I actually managed to find quite a few diamonds, and I found some gold tools. Oh, I can't remember if I showed this last time. I made a bunch of steel reinforced wooden chests as well, just to compact my storage a little bit. And I also realized the whole reason I made this saw originally was to cut the silicon bowls that I had so that I could get started my Project Red storage system, like just a basic one. But to cut them in the cutter, like I took a look at the recipe before I put it in, just like double check that the power was right and everything. It was good that I did, because these actually require, they're not in there, they're right here. If you look in the recipe, these cost 64 GU, which in this case would be rotation units. So GU is just generic units, so it just depends on whatever machine it is. So it takes a crafting level of 64 GU, which is actually the next tier up. So if it said 16 or even 32, that would be like, I guess, low voltage technically. It's just like a lower tier than 64. So I can't actually run that in this, the power band that I'm able to provide with just this, bronze steam turbine. I think I might, if I should go here. So yeah, the maximum amount I can provide with a bronze turbine is actually just 32 rotation units. So I can, steam turbine. So my options here are basically Invar, but I would be pushing that one to its max, and I would not say that's a safe idea. Or I can do steel, which is probably a better idea in general, because steel is also just way easier to get than Invar. I don't have to spend nickel on it. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be aiming for. I'll just make a steel steam turbine specifically for the buzzsaw, I guess, or just specifically for that one crafting recipe. because I really don't need it other than just to cut the silicon bools. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'll add that to my list over here. I can remove these scissors. And I was looking in creative mode at some of the new guns that Greg released. These just came out, so I might make an overview video soon, just sort of to explain how these work, because they are a little more intricate than they might come across. But for now, I'm not going to bother with them in this world, because it's not super practical to use them until you have like an automated process to make the bullets. We'll see. Maybe I'll use them for something. It might be good for me to use them on the Wither, because you can really like just annihilate him because of how fast you can shoot these, even though the rifles and like the pistols and the carbines are all single shot technically. You can like mash the button, and if you get like a good rhythm down to like eject the magazine and reload a new one, you can really just slam a Wither. No, even if you just use like really shit bullets, like steel bullets or something, you'll just destroy them. Trying to think of maybe anything else that I might have changed or want to mention. It doesn't really come across that well. If I show the bullets, perhaps it might come across easier. I don't know. Or if I just show like an ingot, so like a steel ingot. So Greg changed the way that these things display. So you can see, before it would have just said like sharpness 2 as its like tooltip thing for the enchantment. But now it actually tells you, like, depending on what you use it for, it will give you a different modifier for that thing. So, for here you can see it says for weapons you get sharpness 2, for range you get power 2, and that actually applies to arrows and bullets, I believe. I mean, it definitely applies to bullets. For arrows, it's a little weirder. I'm fairly certain it works for arrows, but it absolutely works for bullets. I tested it pretty thoroughly myself. So that's with that one. There's another, I'm trying to remember if Ephraim, I think there's like another tooltip that you can sometimes get. Oh yeah, so tool, weapon, ranged. So yeah, if it has something that will work on a tool like Ephraim, because it has fortune, so it'll tell you you'll get like fortune on a tool, or on a weapon you'll get looting, or on a range you'll get infinity. And I don't know why it even bothers telling you about armor, because there is no armor, but yeah, it's pretty cool. I like the refactor of the tooltips there. Definitely is more informative. So yeah, I think other than that, I haven't done too much. Oh, I also made a mining portal for like the mining dimension. I didn't really do anything there. I just found like a couple of veins, and I mined some invar there, but it's really, there's nothing too crazy here. It's just kind of like a flat area. Oh, I caged some cows over there, so I can sort of use that as like a makeshift cow farm just in the interim. So yeah, I'm probably, if I do any automated mining, like if I decide to use like Open Computers robots to do like automated mining or something, or if I want to do like a railcraft tunnel bore potentially, I will do it here. That way I don't have to like worry about any potential like lag from, I don't know, like weird rendering from like cutting holes through the world or whatever. And also just, save me the trouble of having like a really shitty world with like holes ripped through it. So, I mean, I already found a bunch of veins in my world, so I don't mind using those, because a lot of those are like further out anyway. But, if I need a vein that I haven't already gotten, I can certainly do it there. And then this is the last thing. I'm starting to construct a little building that I'm just going to probably set up as like small for now. And it'll be my little like steam building, I think, just to, hold my boilers and like all the steam machines. I don't even think this is going to be big enough. Now that I'm looking at it, I'm not really sure how I want to do it. I might have the boilers underneath and just have like a little staircase that goes down, and then have all the machines up here. I think that might work actually, so I'll definitely consider doing that. I'm just looking for like a floor material that doesn't look horrible, because I'm trying to put in a little bit of effort to make things look decent here, even though for the moment I just kind of have a square with a not even finished roof. But I'm doing my best. I'm doing what I can. I think I actually need to, did I get enough glass for that? No, I didn't. So I think what I want to do right now is just start getting some item pipes, actually. That way I can start piping like dusts out of my burning boxes. Like I can pipe them to like a central location. That way I don't have to have like one here, one there. And that I can also use that to pump fuels around. So what I kind of want to do is just have like charcoal being shown here, like how much charcoal do I have just in general, and then I'll have like a hopper that delivers the charcoal to, you know, wherever it needs to be, like a boiler or whatever. My only concern is that I would prefer to use like charcoal pellets. What I might have to do is like, you know, pipe out into this barrel here, and then kind of like manually craft it into charcoal pellets, because I don't think those are like, for whatever reason, they don't convert through a barrel, because I think charcoal pellets are technically from charcoal bricks. So yeah, you can't craft it from like regular Minecraft charcoal. You have to make it into these bricks first, and then you can craft it into the pellets, which is a little annoying, because it just means that I can't, like, you know, forcefully convert it. Like, I wouldn't even mind it if I could have just like convert it into bricks here. And then, you know, send it down the line and then have it convert in a different barrel to the chunks. But oh well, it is what it is. I don't think it'll be a huge deal, but that's my general plan. So what most people will probably, well, it kind of depends on what you have access to. So if I type in item type, so the basic tier technically is brass. It will transfer 1 item per second. You don't have to worry too much about the step size for now. It sort of just has to do with like the internal distance that the like when you pipe stuff into a pipe, it sort of does a calculation for like what route it'll take if there's any kind of like split, and that's what the step size is. It sort of just determines like how the pipe gets calculated as a distance. So like this larger step size will be considered like more difficult to go down than one with a smaller step size. I think it works that way. It might be the inverse. I can't specifically remember. I don't really do too much with these item pipes, to be honest. I usually just do like point to point transfers with them, because they're not super great to work with, to be honest with you. They're usable enough to just like transfer stuff around, and you can filter with them and stuff, so that's fine. But yeah, I don't really particularly care too much to, you know, like screw around with them after that point. I think it might be useful if you wanted to have, say, like a dump chest, like closer to a certain area, and then you wanted everything else to like be prioritized before that one. And then, you know, either way, it's not a huge deal. I don't think it'll really be used. But what I was saying is that you could see the bandwidth here. There's 1 item, or 1 per second. So that's 1 item per second will be transferred through this pipe. So these are kind of like your starter pipes. And there's also constant tandem, which I can't even remember what this is made out of, to be honest with you. This is nickel and copper. So that's, I guess, another option. So both of these are made out of copper. Brass, obviously, is zinc and copper. This is nickel and copper. So it's kind of just whatever you have access to there. I would more so recommend going for Angmelon. Where is that? That's rose gold. Where are they? Am I blind? Aluminum, brass. Oh, here we go. Angmelon. So these are a little better. They have a bandwidth of 2 per second, which is not a huge deal either way. But Angmelon is essentially just 1 iron, 1 gold. And iron is pretty easy to get. Gold is really, really easy to get. I mean, I can show you. It's probably the metal that I have the most of, I guess, in its like pure form. I have more copper by a long shot, but you know, I have more like actual gold. And it's the reason for that is you can just run around in the nether with like an Ephrine pick, or, you know, a Solarium pick. You can just dig it straight out of the wall. So it's really, really easy to obtain in like its raw form. But even if you like mined like a gold vein, you still get a lot out of a gold vein. So yeah, I would definitely recommend doing that personally, unless you specifically, I guess, want to just use your zinc and your copper for whatever reason. But I think it's better to just use those for like brass, because I mean, gold isn't I mean, you won't really need that many pipes anyway, and gold is only really used for like circuits, and you don't need all that much of it. So yeah, that's definitely a good option. You can also use gold for fluid pipes for acids, but even then, you're not going to be using a huge amount, and like I said, it's super common. So I think that's what I'm going to be doing. So it's going to be sort of the same as making any other pipe. It's just different materials, but I have to alloy this into angmelon, and fortunately the ratios work out pretty well on this. So when you make iron, you can do it in like a batch of 6, just based on the materials that you throw into the crucible. What am I missing? Oh, charcoal. So yeah, you can basically just do 6 iron, and then you can just throw 6 gold in, and then you'll have get 12 angmelon out. And because it takes I guess any kind of pipe, but yeah, if you look at angmelon, there's 3 curved angmelon pipes in this one, so you'll get 4 pipe segments per go if you do it this way. So it's pretty nice to do it that way, I think. So let me just grab like a stack of charcoal, and actually, hold on, that was already up. I'm trying to see. Yeah, I might need to grab some willow really quick. Yeah, I might also start looking at a forestry farm. First, I'm going to do my, I'm going to set up my Steam stuff for sure. I just have that area like filled out with my machines. I have a lot of machines that I think I want to like go for. And then I'll do maybe storage. I'll at least get like item, I would say like summoning, I guess is the best way to put it. Like with the, I can't remember what it's called, like the request pipe or whatever. Yeah. Just so that I can like call items out of my storage without having to, run around, go to them. And then I'll probably also sort like, or I'll have auto sorting set up to a certain degree, just to like a dump chest, and then, have it automatically detect where an item is supposed to go based on what was already there. So that way I can kind of just, spend less time going into inventories, looking for stuff, sorting things out, just make my life easier. And then I think I want to go for a forestry tree farm potentially. That way I'll have like a good flow of wood, solid fuel, and liquid fuel, and obviously like sticks, I guess, as well. But I think I'm going to end up just like dumping the sticks and the saplings into like I can just use them as fuel for my oven or something, just because, they burn so quickly, and I don't need more than like a stack of each at a time, really. So that's sort of my goals for now. And you can actually farm these willow trees with a forestry tree farm. So I think I mentioned it last time, but these the willow wood actually gives you twice as much charcoal and what do you call it, creosote oil than any other kind of wood. So they're definitely really good in that regard. And yeah, you can farm them with a forestry tree farm. So I would definitely recommend, if you have any kind of auto farming, really go for these ones for sure, because you'll get a really good amount of fuel from the charcoal and from the sticks and excess saplings. So yeah, and forestry farms are pretty easy to get as far as I can remember. I think they only take like brass and bronze and like glass and stuff. I don't think it's anything too crazy. I think they do use like dirt. I think, fertilizer might be the only thing that is a bit annoying. But I think if you have like an apatite vein, or I think it's also like interchangeable with potassium nitrate or something like that. And you can make it with like that and ash or something. But yeah, it doesn't use a whole lot of fertilizer from what I can remember. So you get like a stack of fertilizer that'll last you a good amount of time. And you can also power the forestry farm with just a standard GregTech engine. I don't ever think I mentioned that, but it does say in the tooltips that they will convert to redstone flux. So it's whatever energy out, so like whatever kinetic units you would have gotten out, you just divide it by 2, and that's what you'll get out in terms of like a stream of redstone flux. But also you have to remember that they don't operate 100% like a constant stream. They kind of have like a power stroke and I forget what you call it, like a reverse stroke or whatever. So it's not going to be quite what you might expect, but I think, you know, I'm not going to circumvent that. I will respect the, I guess the wishes of Greg in that way. I think it's a balanced way of doing things, and I mean, those farms don't really require much anyway, and it's more logistically interesting to set that up. So I think I'll just give it its own engine and its own, you know, dedicated boiler and stuff, and it should be able to just run itself with charcoal, and you know, I can have that feed its own distilled water thing, and then I guess feed the excess distilled water everywhere else. So it'll kind of solve a bunch of different problems at the same time. So yeah, let me get this ready. So I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whoops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then let's see, where is my tongs? I think I have everything I need. Oh, let me throw stuff in before I light it. 14. There we go. Yeah, I was thinking as well, I may not actually make a iron farm like with villagers and stuff, because I mean, it is kind of cheaty in a certain way. Not that I mean, it's on one hand, iron, you need so much iron, it's sort of like tedium to kind of like have to refine it, but at the same time, it does kind of bypass some kind of automation that would be interesting to set up. So I think I might not do that. I will set up a system to refine hematite probably, because that's more so like what you'll end up having your hands on. Even though you don't really get as much out of hematite, you only get 2 iron per like recipes worth of hematite. So it's not like crazy good, but at the same time you get so much hematite. It's just, you know, it's crazy abundant. So if you can just get a system to set like auto refine it, I guess is the correct term, then you'll be fine. You just set it to go in the background. So that's what I think I'll do instead of having a, you know, an iron farm. And it's really not all that complicated to set up that kind of system, and I'll have to do that for a couple different alloys anyway. So it'll be a good introduction to that. It's pretty, I guess, visually interesting. It's definitely not what you would, I guess, imagine from, if you come in from other mods, you're like, oh, you know, I'm going to set up like an iron refining process, and you'll see. It involves like some hoppers and some strange redstone kinds of things, and like inversion of the hoppers. It's pretty cool, I think, though. Conceptually, it's very unique, to say the least. So yeah, the reason this is still taking so long to heat up, even though I'm using chromium, is that gold is super dense. Like 2,000 kilograms per unit, I think. Yeah. And what is steel? Steel is 800, so yeah, it's like over twice as dense. But yeah, this will form egg melon soon. Jeez. Yeah, it has to be wrought iron. It can't be regular iron. And technically it can form egg melon at a lower temperature, but because obviously I didn't throw wrought iron in, I just threw regular iron, it doesn't form until you actually get it to the wrought iron point. So yeah, there I'm getting my egg melon. So yeah, this, if you're using a weaker burning box, I feel bad for you. If you decide to use this material, I would say maybe if you're using a weaker burning box, just go for the brass one, because it's much easier to work with in terms of like the, you know, the heating up process. And, you know, I guess you don't have to use your iron. You can just use your zinc and your gold, or not gold, your zinc and your copper, rather. But yeah, it's, you know, these are materials that I can very easily get a lot of, so I don't really mind too much. So let me do that again. Oh, there we go. Keep forgetting my charcoal. There it is. 7, not the right amount. There we go. All right, let me light this back up. Come on. There we go. Let me see how this is doing. I'm like sucking down grease oil. What I'm gonna do, I think, is make a bunch of bronze drums and sort of stack them up like on top of each other, just to sort of form like a column of storage vessels for fluid. Because they have more total capacity that like per volume, I guess, than like a wooden tank, for example. So I think I would prefer to do it that way, and it looks nicer as well. The only, I guess, downside is that you can't really input into them as easily, but at the same time, it's like, what's the big deal on that? You could just pipe it into the top or any of the sides on the top barrel. So that's my intention there. I just don't know where I want to put those kinds of things. I think it'll be cool to see like a stack of barrels like embedded in the wall for like water and everything. And I think one of the only other problems I can think of is that you can't measure the quantity of liquids in like the entire stack, as far as I know. Like you can only, because they'll transfer fluids, I guess, depending on like the density of the material versus like air, for example. But for most materials, it'll just be like the bottom barrel will have everything. For like water and creosote oil, for example, because it goes based on its density compared to air. It's much more dense compared to air, so it'll flow to the bottom, and then only the bottom barrel will really you'll only be able to really measure the bottom barrel accurately, because that's where everything will end up going, unless you had like 1 meter per every single barrel. Oh yeah, that actually formed much quicker than the other one, because it's because I made it form raw iron before. That's probably a smarter way to do it, because you'll end up using less fuel to get it back up to the same temperature. So you don't really need to heat the gold up, you just need to heat the iron up to that specific point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there we go. And then there we go. So yeah, I actually had to go out and mine a bunch more well, not mine, but I had to dig up a bunch more black sand just to get myself more access to iron. I mean, it's not a huge deal. It is quite far out. Like, here's my house, and then the black sand that I'm digging out from is like here. Actually, I think I was digging it out here, but there's also, I think, some here and some here. And I think there may be some, where is it? I think this may also be some. It's either that or it's like black granite or something, or basalt. So yeah, it's sort of just a pain. I can't remember if I even found a hematite vein as well, so I'm kind of like stuck both ways. Yellow limonite is a source of hematite, but I definitely would prefer, like, I guess an iron vein or a hematite vein if I'm gonna have, if I'm gonna consider it like my main source of iron. Because yellow limonite I don't think has a huge amount. Wait, let me keep my eye on this one. Yeah, that's plenty. There we go. This should get me 8 pipe segments. That's totally fine. I want, like, I don't know how many pipe segments I actually want, but I want a decent amount. That way I can kind of just pipe things around as I see the need for it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. So yeah, it's not a overly thrilling process, but it's much more efficient in the long run to be able to pipe things around. And it'll be fun to see all sorts of different pipes. Yeah, I think I'm gonna just switch over to steel pipes in terms of my like fluid piping, specifically like water and creosote oil, not for steam, obviously. I still would rather have Invar, just because on the off chance I touch a pipe, I don't want to like vaporize my character. So yeah, that's usually what I do, is just steel, because steel also has a bit of a better capacity, I think, than bronze. I mean, either way, it's much easier for me to make steel than it is for me to make bronze. Well, I don't know. I don't know if it's easier, but I just prefer steel. That's just my rationale. I suppose bronze is probably easier, but I don't like having to use material that's made of 2 materials rather than just like 1. Steel is just iron at the end of the day. Alright. So I can curve all of these plates. I really should invest in like a machine to curve plates for me, but you know, I can just do them. Where's my hammer? Oh, there it is. I'm blind. Alright. Here we go. Enjoy the loud sounds of anvil banging. There we go. So, like that, like this, and it's this, and like that. Or is it the other way around? Yep. So here's 12 Angmelon item pipes, which is fantastic. So, actually I don't have space. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to move this stuff, but basically the way these work is you just point a hopper into them, and that's, you just connect them to whatever inventory on the other side, and they'll just go from one place to the other. So I could certainly demonstrate that. I'm just trying to find like a hopper that is in a spot where I don't mind like ripping it out really quick. This one's fine. There we go. So if I say just wanted to pipe stuff into this chest, what I can do is like this, and then I can put the hopper here. So let me get my wrench. There we go. Connect that to here. And then what I can do is just like throw a dirt in there, and then it'll end up in there. Or I could throw all 6 golds in there, and it'll just sort of go as it's able to. I think because this hopper only transfers 1 at a time, because it's like a vanilla hopper, it won't like be able to use the full transfer speed of this pipe. But if I used like a better type of material to make the hopper, if, for example, like a steel hopper, I think would be able to move more. I can't, let me see. I could be wrong about that. I can't remember if hoppers have like a transfer speed that's higher than that. Maybe not. It might just be pipe dependent, or they might just transfer 1 at a time. But either way, these are pretty good pipes for, I guess, the tier that I'm at. I don't really need like exceptionally high batch size transfer or anything. I think, you know what, machines probably would more so be able to make use of that, depending on like what kind of setup you're using. Like if you needed to like clear the inventory of a machine really fast because you're trying to process like a million different things and you don't have a buffer chest on the output, that might be one potential use case. Because like what you can do, like the machines will automatically output if you see, it's kind of hard to see on this one, but there's like arrows that point outwards from this machine, and there's also arrows that point inwards. So the inwards is the input, the out one is the output, and they will automatically pull from their input and push to their output. So, you know, if I replace this chest with a pipe, it would just automatically push into the pipe, and, you know, it would go wherever it needs to go. So that's one potential way for it to like saturate the bandwidth of a pipe. But I think unless you're really strapped for space, it's usually better just buffer chest the output or the input, or both. Like on this one, I did both, just because, you know, if I fill this with wood, I can just put it all in the chest, leave it, and it will automatically suck out of the chest and put it in the output. So yeah, that's one really good benefit of Greg's machines specifically. So keep that in mind when you're designing your stuff. I'm probably going to make good use of that in my Steam factory building at some point. I'll just have like a bunch of buffer chests to begin with, and then once I really start getting automation going, like once I can kind of on-demand power those machines without having to like warm up a boiler or whatever, then I will start like piping things around a bit more instead of having like buffer chests and like sorting things out manually. But yeah, until that point, it's not particularly worth doing, I would say. That's just the way I tend to do things. So let me put this stuff here. I definitely need to make more creosote oil, because I just used a whole bunch of it and I wasn't even like seeing any in that thing. I need to make what I really need to do is make a drum and then just make a fluid reader so I can see how much I have. But yeah, I think I just want to run this off of solid fuel with a dense Invar burning box and just use like charcoal pellets, because it's sort of annoying to have to deal with the constant creosote oil, because creosote oil really doesn't have a huge burn value. Where is it? So yeah, this is worth 32 GU, so it's like, I guess you could get 32 heat units out of it per like liter of creosote oil, whereas something like just like diesel, for example, or I mean, even not even diesel, but like vodka. Yeah, even vodka is like substantially better. It's like 3 times as good. Not that it's something I even have access to at the moment, but it's, you know, you can just see like that's just something you can make out of like potatoes. If you looked at diesel is 320, which is 10 times as good. The only thing is you have to refine oil for it. Not that I can't, I certainly could start. I have the oil shale here, and I could start processing that with, you know, like the crusher, and I could wash that and everything. And then you could throw the output, or you could throw even this in there, but it's better to do it, you know, refine it a little bit because you'll get more. So once you get whatever output you want to get, you can throw it in the coke oven and you'll get oil, and then you can distill it with a distillation tower or a distillery. And I mean, as soon as you have access to, like, as soon as you have a source of the materials to get stainless steel, you're already able to make a distillation tower. There's nothing stopping you, and that's something that I've done multiple times when I've played through GregTech 6 before, is like I'll just go full out on the distillation tower pretty early on, because it's, no matter what kind of like fuel, like if you can either do like crude oil or you can do like biofuel, either way that will push you much further than I guess what you might get if you just did like a traditional thing. I'm not gonna do it this time probably, just because I want to like do things with like solid fuel and steam a little bit more, because just for personal reasons I haven't really done it that way. And I think it's good for people to see sort of how to work with steam in a more safe way, but also like scaled up more so than you would normally do. That does come with some drawbacks for sure. Like you definitely don't get as good efficiency with fuels and stuff as you would just using fuels in like an engine, for example. So if I like a diesel engine, these you could just pipe any kind of fuel into, really, except for, I don't think creosote oil will work in here, but pretty much any engine, even like some, no, actually, never mind. I was going to say gases don't work in here, but pretty much anything that comes out of a distillation tower in terms of fuel can go into a diesel engine, as long as it's like a liquid fuel. And these will just straight up produce rotation units. So like as soon as you pipe any amount of fuel into this diesel engine, it will output 16 rotation units. There's no efficiency loss. It's just, you know, you put it in, that's what you get. And these things are super convenient for rotation units. And there is I can't remember what it's called. Is it called an engine? Oh yeah, rotation engine. So you can just hook these up to a rotation engine and you'll get out half as many kinetic units as you are putting in rotation units. So instead of having to like make a steam engine to get your kinetic units, you just hook one of those diesel engines up to a rotation engine, and then you'll just get kinetic units out of them instead. So they're extremely convenient if you have, you know, the capacity to make liquid fuels. And I think maybe I'll do like biofuel after I, you know, have invested into the coke, like, not the coke oven, the solid fuel route. I'll just like keep doing charcoal for as long as I can realistically manage it without like completely, I don't know, like wasting my time on it. But yeah, after that, I'll definitely do biofuel, because, you know, there's definitely a lot of benefit to just using liquid fuels as much as you can. You know, for I guess for the matter of just being interesting and for doing something new for myself, I'll just do solid fuel. So yeah, nothing too much going on in this episode, but I think next time I'll try to get like that factory area over there set up, and then I'll start moving buildings over and setting up the boilers. I think that'll be a lot more interesting to look at. So for now, I'll just cut it here. and I will come back when I have some more substantial things there. So see you next time.